Hey folks, Quilly18 here, and welcome to Let's Play Prison Architect version 1, the official release version. Prison Architect has been an early access game on Steam for some time now, and I've always pointed to it as an example of early access done right. The game has always been fun, always been playable, and they've come out with tons and tons of updates, like regular updates, like usually once a month they'd come out with a new alpha with some new features, and I've always thought that that was a fantastic example of how to properly do early access. But now they are leaving early access. And an official release date, October 6th, has been announced. I am actually playing the final release version a little bit early. And I'm really excited to be doing that. This is the last prison I played, or rather I live streamed. I can't remember what alpha this was on, but we're going to be starting a new fresh one today. If you haven't picked up Prison Architect already, you can do so. It is generally available on Steam, and depending on where you are, it's like $30 to $50, somewhere around there. And if you bought it today, when I'm recording this video, you would be buying the early access version, but it will update to the final release version, of course, on October 6th. If you don't know what Prison Architect is, it is a game where you build prisons and you have to run it. It's a tycoon management game, it's a money management game, it's a building game, but you also have to really manage the needs of your prisoners. You can play it a variety of different ways. This is actually a very high security, very intense prison with lots of really bad people. As a result, there tends to be a fair number of riots and deaths that happens, but you can also run like a minimum security, really cushy prison for non-violent prisoners, and both are actually a very viable way to do it. You get slightly more money from taking in the most dangerous of prisoners, but the less dangerous prisoners need less money because you don't need as many guards, for example, plus they more likely to have short sentences and to get paroled early and not reoffend, and you get a bonus for that. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. You can also, if your prison is successful, what you can actually do is go and sell it afterwards as well. We check the evaluation screen here. You can see the prison has a certain value, and we can sell it. I can't do it right now because I just had a recent death, but we're going to start a brand new prison because this was made with one of the early alphas. So we're going to start a brand new prison from scratch. So this Let's Play is also going to be a bit of a tutorial about, hey, how you can get started. Each one of these prisoners, by the way, have a name, they have history, they've got their crime, and they've got some stats about the prison. Lots of graphs and stats and stuff in this game, which makes me very happy. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new prison. I'm going to pick one of the larger areas just so we have a lot of room to work with. I'm going to turn on the gangs and random events features because they sound like a lot of fun. I also like that you can choose your warden. The last time I played, gangs and events were not in the game, and the ability to choose your warden wasn't in there either. There's still the default warden, which is just your sort of baseline experience, and these give some bonuses. So, for example, the lobbyist here halves the likelihood of receiving prisoners who are violent, lethal, volatile, deadly, or fighters, which is pretty good. But then here you also have less likelihood of getting prisoners who are stoical or fearless, which means with those two qualities they would be somewhat immune to being intimidated by your guards. They might still be violent, as opposed to this lobbyist version, but your guards can sort of keep them in line a lot more. And suppressing someone means that they will sort of behave a lot more. J.W. Periwinkle here has superior trained guard dogs. The pacifier reduces the overall temperature of your prison, making your inmates less likely to cause trouble. So people are just a little bit less cranky, or even if they're as cranky, they're less likely to start something as a result of it. And then here it's interesting. You can actually make money based on finding contraband. So it's a good money maker. I'm going to go ahead with the lobbyist, and we're going to try to run a prison actually that doesn't have too many disasters, at least to start off with. We're gonna try to make, because my last prison, this Supermax prison with lots of armed guards and stuff, I want to have one where things go very, very well instead. I want to make a nice prison. So here we are on an empty plot of land. Depending on options, you might have existing buildings, sort of half in decay. You might have lakes. I like this setup here. Lots of room to build, lots of freedom. So you get your main road over here, and it will start off by delivering my workmen to start producing my prison. We've got a little field here for deliveries and another one for garbage. And those will be deliveries we unloaded from trucks, and garbage will be picked up by trucks and gone out of there. You can also, I may as well place it now, there's no hardship in doing that, an export room, which I like to put over here. So if we do produce anything that needs to be sold, it will be brought here, and that includes chopping down trees for construction. So I'm going to put a pause in here. Let's take a look at the screen if you're not too familiar with it. We've got our current money over here, and then we've got our daily cash flow over here. You do get a little bit of money every hour as the day goes by to sort of spread it around so you don't get it in a giant chunk, which is handy. You can see we've got a to-do list over here. It's always nice to keep track of that. We do have a CEO's letter, which gives us an introduction to the game and our prison. I'm not going to read it out loud, but you can take a look at it, and it gives you some advice about how to get started. I'm just going to get rid of that. We've got a note that our first prisoner intake is going to happen in 24 hours. At 8 a.m. tomorrow, our first prisoners will arrive. There'll be 2 minimum security and 6 normal security prisoners, which right now is all we can take. Those are the only ones available at this time. The game starts you off by default with maximum security turned off, and I think we're going to do that for this prison. I think we'll accept a mix of minimum and medium security prisoners. I think we'll just keep them in one big general population and then try to keep them as happy as possible to minimize the chance that anyone gets killed off. So we have to start thinking about our structure here for our prison. And how we want to lay it out. And there's tons of different ways to lay these things out. Actually, before we start that, let's go to the report screen down here in the bottom right corner. And we're going to go to the Grants tab. You see a lot of these are currently disabled. We need various research and things to enable everything. We're going to enable the grants, and grants are sort of like missions, but they give you extra money. And one of the nice things about them is they tend to give you an advance. So this basic detention center grant is worth $30,000 overall, but you get $20,000 of it up front as an advance payment, and then an additional $10,000 when you complete it. So these are both a great way to make extra money, but they're also a really good way to sort of hold your hand and guide you through the first few steps of your prison. So you can have up to 2 grants starting out. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to accept the basic detention center grant because this is really what we want to do to get started. You can certainly run a prison without ever having a holding cell. A holding cell is like one room that can hold a lot of prisoners together, which is not a very good long-term way of playing the game, generally speaking, because people get a bit cranky about being that crowded in there. But it's a great way to start off with, and it's a great way to handle overflow of prisoners when you don't have enough individual cells. And obviously, we'll have to build one for this particular mission. We will want a shower, a yard, a kitchen, a canteen. Canteen is where you eat. Guards, cooks, yeah, that's pretty standard. So you're just going to do this anyway, so we may as well do it. And I'm going to go ahead and grab the administration center as well. A lot less of a payment, but this is something I'm going to want to do regardless, so may as well do it. Even if you've done these before, if you accomplish all these steps first and then accept the grant, that still works. The grant will just automatically compete, and you'll just get your money instantaneously. So that's perfectly fine. You don't miss out if you don't take your grant in time. So we're getting our first delivery of some basic supplies to get started. So those, I guess you get them for free at the start of the game. A bunch of bricks and flooring panels and that sort of thing. So what do we want to do for our prison layout? What do I want to do this time? I guess we'll go into planning mode and we'll start to just sort of figure something out. It sort of makes sense to me that the holding cells might be close to the front entrance. Yeah, let's go ahead and work something out. How big does the holding cell need to be? I'm not sure. I guess one of the things I can do is I can go into sort of object placement mode and just sort of like work out what some of the objects might be. One of the things, the holding cell only needs, as far as I can recall, only needs a bench to sit on. But what can help your holding cell quite a bit is, especially if you're thinking about keeping some people in there longer term, is actually plan out to have some beds in there, right? Beds, toilets, a toilet might be required, shower, which isn't required, that sort of thing. So you can plan everything out in planning mode. But you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw out a block. I'm going to go 11 by 11. The reason I'm doing that is because I know I'm going to want offices, and an 11 by 11 building is perfect for offices, and you'll see exactly why. So this way, these two buildings will match. This one's going to be the holding cell. This one's going to be some of my office space. That's going to be fine. Let's go ahead. It does let you know that it requires an entrance. Now, if I wasn't paused, by the way, you can pause with the space bar, and these buttons here, or 1, 2, 3 on the keyboard, controls the game speed. Really handy there. So they will start building it, even if it still requires an entrance. It won't finish until you actually have the entrance in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plop a jail door over here. Jail doors, prisoners cannot open and close jail doors by themselves. You need guards to open and close them for you. So we'll put that there. Staff doors, I believe, are the same. Any member of the staff can open a staff door. They'll have a key for that. Prisoners cannot by default because they require a key for it. Although there's contraband, prisoners can start a fight and beat up one of your people and steal their keys. There's a lot of ways for a prisoner to get a hand on some staff keys, so you're going to have to search them from time to time. Now, if you want to save money, you can just go with one door on this building and keep it open and still have 4 offices in there. Sort of, an open concept office, and that's fine. I think in this case, I'll go ahead and spend the extra money, and we'll have 4 individual offices with walls in between them, so we'll need some more doors there ahead of time. So we're going to let that get started. You might want to consider at this point going to the staff panel and hiring some more workmen just to make this step go a little bit faster. Obviously, you'll spend some more money doing that. I think we'll be okay. I'm going to try to start with a relatively small prison, and in fact, I won't even rush into making individual cells. We'll try to make this this holding cell work for our first few prisoners for the first little bit. So it'll take a little bit less, we'll have less building up front, and therefore we should be able to get away with it with just our 8 workmen. I think that will be plentiful. So we will have to plan for our kitchen, cantina. That's going to be the next big thing to plan, because you need a fair amount of space to make that work properly. And you can plan this all out based on the size of the cookers, the refrigerators, the sinks, plus the benches and tables that you're going to want to make, put into the canteen. I think we'll just sort of eyeball this again and just make something that's relatively large, because one of the nice things you can do in the cantina is if you leave room in there, it's enough room to sort of build a bathroom and a shower and have some phones and televisions and exercise equipment. You can actually keep your population a lot happier for a lot longer by including that stuff in there. So this is going to be our holding cell. So this holding cell needs a toilet and a bench, and that's all you need to make a legal holding cell. We'll try to do a little bit better than that, though. So I'm going to start with the objects. I think 1 toilet is going to be sufficient for the people that are in here, and I will also include 1 shower head, and then I'll put some walls sort of in between here for just a scooch of privacy, and then we'll include a drain here so that the water from the shower goes down the drain so that we don't flood the entire place. And then for the rest of the space, well, we know we need the 1 bench, so we can plan on exactly where we might put that now. Something like this should be fine. And then I'm going to include some beds, because the first night, the prisoners are just going to spend the first night in here, and we want to give them somewhere to sleep. So we're going to do something like that, and then like this. The beds, it might be possible to place them all adjacent to one another and not have problems, but I like to give a little bit of space. So if we do this, that'll be 8 beds. No. Count properly. That is 7 beds. We need 1 more. I might put it here instead of against the wall. Actually, I think that'll be fine. We'll do that, and then again, to keep them a little bit happier, we're going to give them a telephone over here so that they can talk to their family, and we'll give them a television so that whenever they're in the holding cell, they can still have a little bit of fun. And we might go ahead and add in an exercise bench or something like that in the future. Okay, my office building is done, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the brick wall and do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to leave a little bit of gap for now, because if I close this up, I don't think they can actually build a wall in that middle tile. I don't think the workmen can build diagonally. I'm not sure. I might be misremembering it, and things may have changed. I haven't played in the last couple of alphas, so we'll see. And the reason I did everything this size is because the office here needs to be 4 by 4. There's not much of a reason to make the office bigger than that, so this will be fine. And again, you can see if I just put in 1 door and hadn't built that wall, this would be a perfectly fine office space, and we would have saved a little bit of money, but I just wanted to do it differently this time, and there's nothing wrong with that. An office needs a desk. There we go. We'll do it this way. It needs a chair, and it doesn't matter where they are, but I think it'll look better if we have the chair behind the desk. That's fine. And it needs a filing cabinet, so I'm going to go and put them in this corner. I don't know if will people be able to walk through there? I'll wait until the walls are up, and then we'll go and fill that in. I think they can walk through this just fine, though. You know what? It's probably fine. So we're going to decorate this. We don't have our power going yet. I think what I'll do is build a little utility spot. It's important that prisoners can't just get to it. Sometimes they go around and they smash things. It would be pretty terrible if they smashed our power station. So let me go and do that. And a water pump right here. And then some capacitors. You start off with 1 of each already included in your initial load, which is good because they're pretty expensive, and 1 capacitor. But we'll need more than that pretty quick. So I'm going to build those there. And then what I'm going to do is fence around there and put a door. Actually, I suppose I can put that down right now. All right, I want something like this, like that, and then I want to put down staff doors. Staff doors are not the strongest thing in the universe, but they will stop some prisoners. I guess I built a little too much here, didn't I? Let's trim that down and do that. And that should be fine. Okay. So that'll get built at some point, and then we can get the power going and the water going here. There are no canteens accessible by Estelle. Don't worry, they'll get there soon. Still need a yard, the shower, and of course the canteen room. I'm going to let these offices finish up as quickly as possible because I'm going to go and hire my warden. There we go. He's complaining because he doesn't have his office right now, but he will soon. Now that I've got a warden, I can open up bureaucracy and start research. Now we know that I need to unlock finance to hire an accountant for the administrative center. So I'll go ahead and start researching that. And then I'm going to queue up, I think we will unlock probably health and psychology next, because that's the next grant I like to unlock tends to be that. And then I'll unlock the maintenance worker. And there we go. And that'll be pretty good. Actually, that'll use up all 4 of my starting offices as well. Okay, that wall in the middle is now up, so let's go ahead and finish that off with more brick walls. I like the look of brick walls. Concrete's also pretty good. They're the same price. I don't know if they have any different statistics, but I like the brick. I just like the look of it. So we're going to do that. At some point, we're going to have to enclose this entire giant space with the chain link fence, but I'm going to wait a little bit longer before we do that because it would actually impede the movement of my workmen a little bit, so we may as well keep them working or walking as well as possible. And yeah, so he is able to walk through the chairs and everything and going through this wall. I was pretty sure about that, but I think this middle bit here might have been problematic, so just make sure that's accessible before you do everything else. So we do have the offices complete. They don't have power yet, but it does count, and we are working to unlock finance through bureaucracy, which should be working right now. Oh, how come psychology got queued up first? Let me cancel some of these other unlocks. And you know what? That too. I want my money back. Start on the finance. There we go. Now we're progressing. Oh, maybe because he didn't have an office yet, so he couldn't start working on the first thing. Because the first thing I clicked was finance, but if he didn't have the office at that time, he wouldn't have been able to start with that. And then I clicked everything. I in my head queuing it all up, but clearly then he got his office and then he just started working on something semi-randomly. Then that's fine. Utilities over here. This power cable, I think I'm going to have to run a power cable through here to get that water pump going, but I'll wait until everything is in place and finished. All right. A lot of idle workers now, so we definitely have to work on the new room. I don't know what my overall layout is going to end up looking like, but I generally want the canteen a little bit more centralized, so what I think I'm going to do is, and we still need a proper shower room. That can wait, though. You know what? Let's go ahead and build the canteen. We'll leave a bit of a space here, and I want a big amount of space for the canteen. Something like this. A very, very, very large room so that we have room to add some more stuff. Because when people have their meal times, they will spend it in the canteen, and when they're done eating, they will take advantage of anything else you have in this area to fulfill some of their other needs and stay happier. And that's good. We definitely want that. Okay, you're all hooked up, which is great. So we do have to, I think, run the power line that way for the water pump to be hooked up. And then we do need some power to sort of poke into both these rooms. And I'm going to keep this one going all the way over here. And then this way. And we'll run something over there for the kitchen as well. Okay, we've got that. We also need water. You can see that complaining. So there's large pipes and small pipes. Small pipes have a maximum length at which they can carry water, so you need your large pipes to carry most of the water in your prison. And then you can use small pipes or some more local stuff to save some money. Also, large pipes, people can use that to crawl through. So you want to minimize, people can't dig out from holding cells. There's too many eyeballs on them, so they'll never do it. But out of their personal cells, they will try to break out using the large pipes if possible. Actually, I should have just ran it through here, through the kitchen, because it'll need it. But that's okay. This will all be okay. It's not like the pipes are that expensive. They use a fair amount of production time, which is something to consider, but other than that, we're okay. I'm just going to have a basic door leading into the kitchen over here, so that anyone can open it. Prisoners can open and close this door perfectly fine. No complaints there. So this I will divide in two. There'll be a kitchen up here and then the main canteen down there. And when I start building my actual cells, not the holding cell, I'll also factor in the kitchen. So this might take a little bit longer to complete out, but everything else is going to work just fine. Let's just fast forward, let them work on this. My workmen are pretty busy. Not much sense to lay any other foundations down right now because this is going to keep them occupied for a good long time. Plus all the pipe and the cable as well. I think that's most of the room here. Oh, it might be another couple of corners. Take the logs out, and then this room will complete, and then we'll go ahead and be able to actually zone it as the appropriate types of room. What time is it? It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so we still have, we still have 17 hours, almost 18 hours before the first prisoner intake, so we're good there. Just waiting for this room to finish. I guess you got to do all the cable. I like how they bring the big stacks, the big spools of cable, and then they start to unload it to actually get things done. It's very enjoyable. Everything is lit up nicely here. You are just complaining about the fact that you don't have a canteen yet, but don't worry, we're working on it. There we go. So this is completed. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pause the game, and I'm going to lay out a bit of kitchen space. That might end up being way too big. We'll see how it goes. So in the kitchen, we're going to want some refrigerators to hold on to our food. And we're going to want some cookers. Now, I believe the ratio of fridges to cookers is you want 2 cookers for every fridge. So something like this should be a sufficient start. And then 1 sink over here to do the dishes. And we'll leave some extra space for a little bit more growth. We can have another sink, another fridge, another cooker. This is going to be fine for a good long time. You can, again, plan out the size of your rooms and really sort of optimize what you've got going for you, but this is going to be okay. We'll leave, I don't know, a nice double gap over there, make it easier to carry things, and then we want canteen. So this is all going to be canteen there. So, starting from the bottom of the canteen, what we need here is we need benches and tables so that people can actually sit and eat. So I'd like to do something like this. All right, we'll start with that. We'll have to leave maybe a little bit of a gap over there. So I guess I can just go and keep working just up this side. So that's going to be more than enough tables for now. That is going to be groovy. We'll need some serving tables as well. So people from the kitchen will bring out the food onto here, and people will come and grab trays and fill up their meal, which is good. Now, I'm going to put in a bathroom and a shower area in here. It's not actually going to be zoned as a shower, though, so it's not going to fulfill one of the requirements. It's going to be part of the canteen, which means when people are on their scheduled eating time, they can actually just go and shower while they're still in the canteen, which is pretty awesome. It's a great way to optimize, to keep everyone happy. So we'll just make a little shower, say room for maybe 6 prisoners at a time. They're going to be pretty close, tight together. But there shouldn't be that many people using their showers because they'll actually have a normal shower time, and they should mostly use that. We'll have to put a little drain here to stop this from flooding the rest of the space. That's going to be okay. And I'll also go ahead and put a toilet in here. And again, it'll be a little crowded, but, you know, they'll put up with it. And again, this is not going to be their main toilet. They'll actually have a toilet in their, in all their cells. So generally speaking, they should be okay over there. All right, so that's going to be brought in, and then we've still got more room for, say, a few phone booths, say on that wall, and then maybe a couple of televisions, like that and like that. They'll just sort of like stand around it when they're watching, and we can put in some workbenches in here too, just to keep, or some weight benches, I should say, and then they can keep doing that and keep themselves happy. Meanwhile, we can fill the rest of the space here with more tables and benches as we get more prisoners. This should actually be able to handle a lot of stuff. So we're going to bring in the water from over here and just pop it down there. That'll connect up that way. And actually, I suppose I'll run the big pipe down like this, and that'll be fine. And then we want a small pipe there and there and there and there for the toilets, and here for the shower heads. That'll be fine. And we also need to make sure we've got electricity that connects up to those 2 little bits there and there over there. Oh, that was already empowered, so it's a bit of an excess bit, but that's okay. All right, refrigerators, cookers are in there. We'll need the 2 cooks, 2 guards. We still have time to wait for that, though. Yard and the shower, of course. But the yard is nice. This gives prisoners a place to just hang out outside, get more exercise going. Where do I want to plan the yard? I think it's probably totally fine for us to do something Let's give it a little space, because we can do some paving. And do a yard that's kind of like this. That's going to be good. It does need to be secure. Other than that, it has no requirements, although it's usually a good idea during the yard time. Prisoners will like to exercise, so we'll give them a bunch of workbenches, or weight benches. Not all of them will exercise, but some will. And then some would like to make some phone calls, talk to their family. And then others, even though this is outside, it is totally okay if we go and give them a few televisions, space them out a little bit more, so they can keep themselves happy. This will, I mean, I am building a lot of stuff, considering I'm only getting 8 prisoners. It's pretty pricey, but I think we'll be okay. Did you get hooked up? You're complaining about lack of water. Is that not the tile? Oh, maybe I need it down there. Oh, yeah, because I put it in the wall, but not underneath there. Okay. So there we go. So that'll finish up the sink, get that working. I'm not going to hire the cooks yet, because we don't need to cook any meals yet. There we go. So now the sink is working, so we have a perfectly functional thing over here. This light is complaining about not having electricity, which seems a little unlikely. Actually, this light should just get dismantled. When you do lay down foundations, there's an option here for auto lighting. So if you've got that on, you can see it puts all these lights down. Sometimes they get put in sort of awkward spots. You may want to turn off the auto light and then place your own. You can usually get away with fewer lights than they place down here in this automatic grid, so you could save a few bucks that way too. But I think we're going to be okay. We're going to need run some power down here for the TVs. That should work just fine. And actually, while we're talking about lights, let's get some in this outdoor area. That way our guards and people will be able to see without using their flashlight as much. I think that's sort of even spacing, something like that. And then we'll probably want some, in areas where people might walk as well. We'll potentially replace this ground with concrete, let people move around the prison a little bit faster. That would be pretty good too. Okay, what is the next thing I want to build? Power's starting to get hit a little bit hard. I think what we're going to need is another capacitor. When you're running out of power, you don't need more power station. You usually just need more capacitors. You don't want this red line hitting the top, because what will happen is your power thing, the entire thing will just short out, and that is bad. So this is still complaining about a lack of canteens, and that's only because we don't have cooks assigned here. So it's not a functional canteen. They're not being assigned to one another. Oh, what I need to do is hire my accountant. Boop. Completing that grant, and we can start some more research. Now, before we start the research, we'll look at the grants. So inmate health and well-being. You need to research doctors and the psychologist and get that going. That's probably the thing we want to do next. Sure. I'm going to get that started. So we'll go ahead and research the psychologist and the healthcare. Finance, we can research some things over here to unlock. I don't know if we need to rush any of these things right now. Extra grant might be nice, so we can keep 3 grants going at a time. Plus, it's pretty cheap to research. So we'll get that going on. There we go. Capacitors got installed. So you can see here our capacity is improving. Boom, just like that. So now we're only about 50% usage. That will add up pretty quickly as we generate more areas and put in more lights. Okay, so I've got a yard, although it's not technically legal because we're not boxed in. I guess what I will do now is I will actually just go and fence in our prison. And then we will look at making our first real cell block. Ooh, I gotta put a cut in here. Let me go ahead and do a relatively large fence here, because if we got prisoners right now, they would be fine. They don't have an actual assigned shower, but they have shower heads here and here, so they can get clean. And they have a lot of other things that they want. I'm going to leave a little bit more room here for my first proper cell block. I tend to, these fences tend to get replaced or expanded quite often, just by putting a door in there or by tearing some bits down as we expand the prison, which is a fine way to go. Now that'll go there. We're going to leave a double space in there, which is exactly the right size for, say, the large jail door right there. Now, because the prison is not yet open, there's no prisoners, all the doors are currently permanently open. But as soon as the first prisoner arrives, the doors will shut everywhere, and then you'll need guards to open these prison doors. Again, every staff member can open these green staff doors, but only guards can open the jail doors. So once prisoners arrive, we'll definitely need to make sure we have guards. I mean, obviously, we need guards when there's prisoners around, plus the guards are responsible for opening and closing the doors. But we're going to put a cut in the video here. I hope you're enjoying this series. Take a look at the links down below. There should be one to the full Prison Architect playlist. And this is the first video in a series, so as always, appreciate any favorites, likes, shares, all that kind of jazz. And I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.